Is this going to work? That's the big question, is if this is going to work. I hope it is. I pray that it is working. I actually see someone concurrent already on the live stream. That is awesome. Hopefully this works. Hopefully this works. Hopefully this works. Um, I do live streams for my church like maybe once a month, and I never have a problem with them. But doing it for YouTube is way more complex because there's so much more that you can do, that you want to do, and hopefully it works. So I do see you guys there. I see a few comments already. Bring on the junk. Yes, we are going to do that. We are going to do that with some tests today. I try to figure out what we could do for this feed to make it interesting for you guys. Interesting, I guess, for me, because I'm the one that has to be here the whole hour. You can jump in and out if you don't want to, but I have to be here the whole hour. And what I am going to do is I have another camera that I just bought, and we are going to test some things. We are going to use every single one of these pieces and baubles. We're going to tear apart a few different things today and see what happens with these teardown parts. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I was going to do like picture-in-picture when I do that, but you'd see a blank screen because I can't do both things at once. But I have a few parts for us to test. So hopefully we can have some fun on the feed. An occasional skip is what I'm hearing. I have really good internet here at the shop. I have like 600 meg service, but that doesn't mean you guys get the 600 meg service. And who knows? It's a YouTube live stream. There's always some sort of thing that's going. I see everybody there. I see Snarky User, Sticky, McBeady, Miss Kelsey, Snarky User, Shane Scott, Ollie1. So, welcome to the YouTube live stream. So hopefully there's a little bit of fun. No, there's really not a whole lot of fun with Appliance Repair. You're just here to, learn some things. Of course, it's maybe more fun for me. But of course, if you have any questions, just as long as you can hear me, I'm going to answer as many questions as I can, because who knows how many people are going to go on this live stream. Douglas, I appreciate you that you fixed your refrigerator, hopefully with our help. I wish I could do this different places other than this little background that I have here, because I have like 3 or 4 Samsungs on the floor. I've thought about, hey, let's tear one apart live on camera, but setting up for that would be kind of difficult, so maybe down the road we can do that. But I'd love to tear into some appliances if these live streams go well, that we can tear apart whole appliances rather than just some components. But I do appreciate the fact that you guys say that some of the stuff that I've done has taken care of your guys' appliances, which I'm really, really happy about. That's why I started the channel. The one thing I wanted to do when I started the live feed off is to show appreciation or pay respects for the person that the reason kind of I'm here on doing this is there was another YouTuber named Bill Newberry that he ran an appliance channel for quite some time, and he was really, I guess I'd say, the inspiration for me doing this. There's a picture of Bill over there, and of course he has a YouTube channel, and one of the things that you would kind of see with some of his videos that are popular there is that they're like 8, 7, 6, 10 years ago. And the sad part is that Bill passed away. Bill passed away in 2018. So 4 maybe 5 years ago. I couldn't copy his obituary fast enough to throw it in here, but he passed away. I did my channel primarily because I realized if he passed away, no one was doing the really nice, I guess I'd say high-end YouTube type channel content. And I thought, well, if he's not doing it, then I guess I can do it, because I'm not going to step on his toes doing it, because he passed away. That's why I mentioned a few videos ago that I had a heart condition, because I figured, well, no one knew that Bill passed away, unfortunately. But I thought, if I said, hey, I have a heart issue, hey, at least someone knows what happened to me. Of course, my family will probably take over the channel if something ever happens to me, but I don't think that's going to happen. Bill passed away from cancer. It was 5 days after his last live stream, which was just really, really sad. But it is what it is. Can a commercial appliance tech watch? Yeah, anybody can watch. Just don't make fun of me because I just do residential. I don't deal with commercial. I don't actually know a whole lot of commercial appliance techs around where I live. I know some guys that do industrial refrigeration that used to be residential techs. I know a few people that do commercial refrigeration for like soda pop machines. One of the guys helped me work on my EPA license, Matt, who is a Pepsi guy, which sometimes he drinks a Coke. Don't tell anyone, but yeah, if you're a commercial tech, feel free to watch. So let's see, what can we do first? I'm going to go over this other screen real quick and show you what I'm going to do for some of the parts testing today. And hopefully you guys can continue to hear me that I'm doing this. I have my table right here that has all of my goodies on it. So I have a few different pieces here, and if you guys have watched my channel, one of the things that's really, really important is that you have tools. If you are starting out in appliance repair or you need to fix something, it's really important you have tools. You don't need all of these tools, but you need at least some of these. I got one of my trusty 11-in-1s here, which obviously really, really good. I like these because they can break down into a lot of different pieces, and of course, I wouldn't be a tech if I wasn't missing pieces, but they can shift and change to where you can have like a 5/16 or a 1/4 inch. Some of these have even more on them than like this. I think it's not an Irwin, Lennox 11-in-1. So these are always helpful. So you can take apart a lot of different appliance pieces at once. This is a cheaper one that I got at Menards just because we go through a few of these every so often. Screwdrivers are always really important because you can take apart anything you need to with one of these. Homeowners don't have a lot of these, which is really, really a difficult thing when it comes to helping people with appliances. We're going to be using this a lot tonight if I can do some tests. And of course, this is a multimeter. This tells you if something's broke or not. Really simplistically put, this tells you if it's actually broken or not. People go out and they buy a lot of parts to fix things when they may really not need them. You have different modes and functions. My lighting is not the best for this. It's always the first time I'll get better lighting for the next ones, but it lets you test different things, and hopefully we can go through a few different situations tonight, and maybe we can test a few things. And then the crown jewel of what I usually use, I've only used this once in a video before, is my BK 881 here. This is a very advanced appliance tool here. This will actually let you, and we'll be working on it a little bit. What this does is this lets you test your circuit boards. This is an in-series capacitance tester. What this does is it lets you test these components to see if they go bad. The thing about a board like this is a $300 Whirlpool washing machine board. And the thing about a $300 Whirlpool washing machine board is that if you didn't know better, the only thing that goes bad on these typically are the capacitors, these really small pieces. And this machine lets you test the capacitors to see if they're good or bad. So we're going to test a few here in just a little bit to show you maybe what's good and what's bad on a few of these boards. I got 2 or 3 to test. I think I know a few that are bad, maybe not on this board, but another one. And that's something, if you are, say, a commercial tech, maybe you're more familiar with these. These are not cheap. They run about $200, but goodness, they are worth it. And when you get into repairs like what we do, they work really, really well to help diagnose a very expensive thing and allow the expensive thing to become a very cheap thing to fix. Capacitors typically run $1 to $5 each. And that's all you need to fix really, really expensive appliances. Let's see. Appliance repair, refrigerator, oven, washing machine, dishwasher. Please don't give away too many secrets. I'm trying to make sure that I do more of the basic ones. Probably won't ever do many dishwasher tech videos just because we really don't fix a lot here. So that's something we won't go into too much. Microwaves we won't go into too much. I'm trying to really focus on common appliance fixes with most of what's in the channel, just stuff that we regularly see to take care of it. I don't want to take away too much bread and butter from appliance techs, but people are going to generally find something on YouTube if they need it, to try to get an idea of what's going on, and usually they're going to find something. The challenge, of course, is if they find something usable or not, and I try to make it usable. The reason that I made the videos was because I have my appliance shop, and it's right behind the cameras. I'm going to see if I can't move my filming camera real quick, and I'm going to show you just a little bit, even though it's going to look awful. But right behind me is a lot of appliances. There is just mounds and mounds and mounds and mounds of all kinds of appliances in my room. Just kinds. And I went and did it. Of course I did that. Of course I did that. Well, let's get this straightened back up. Of course I did that. Okay. So I lost my feed for just a second because I tried to do something that I really shouldn't have, is show you my shop. But if you saw that, you saw that there are mounds and mounds of appliances on the opposite side of the camera. And we fix those every single day. Not always me, because I have to run some other things, but we fix appliances every single day. And come to find out, unless you have a mentor, when it comes to appliance repair, you're not going to find how to fix a lot of things very often. And I didn't have a mentor when it came to appliance repair. No one was really around that could teach, so I had to do everything myself. 100% self-taught, which is probably not a great thing, but it's a thing. And because of that, that's why I felt like I needed to start doing some of the videos, because if you ever wanted to learn the trade more or less, well, you won't know where to start unless you found a mentor or you went to a college or a trade school. So that's part of why I did the videos. Let's go ahead and read some more comments. Spinny said that it was just lighthearted comment, and that's I always appreciate those lighthearted comments. But I do want to try to make sure that I don't say too much, but also document some fixes. Because the weird thing is, there's even appliance techs that I make some videos for by request for appliance techs, because sometimes, especially on new units, you don't know how to take them apart. And over time, once I kind of fill my backlog of videos that I want to make for the basic fixes, then I can focus on more of the new ones, or hopefully I have the money to buy new ones to fix and show some of the ways to tear them down, so techs can kind of figure out how to use how to take care of and repair new appliances. Let's see. Fire alarm tech guy, have you ever seen a Whirlpool or Kenmore Elite Calypso come through yet? Yes. Yes, I have. It has been probably 2 or 3 years since I have seen a Calypso come through. I wish I worked on my channel when it came through. I think I was just starting the channel out, and I didn't know what I had in front of me, and I scrapped it for parts because they are very hard to find, but I didn't know what kind of gem I had. And for those that don't know what a Kenmore Calypso is, or I think it was a Whirlpool Catalyst. Whirlpool had their own badge and Kenmore had another one. The Kenmore Calypso was the first high efficiency top load washing machine that was made in the US, and it was it was a total nightmare of a machine. It was a mess, and I really wish I had recorded or filmed that, because there's components on it that look like the old 1984 Whirlpool direct drive style washing machine. The gear case is very similar to a direct drive, but then there's all these other parts on it that make it look more like the modern Whirlpool vertical modular washer. But it's all these weird Frankenstein parts that are in between. They have front load suspension rods on them, not not the ones that have the springs on them, the big shock absorbers. This top load washer had shock absorbers on it, and it was just the worst thing you could try to take apart. And it was a mess of a machine. It had a very notorious fail rate with technicians. Even when the part quality was still really, really good, everything was made in the U.S., it was a big failure. Similar kind of to some of the other Frankenstein machines out there. I'd say there's a machine, I wish I had the pictures of these, but you have like the Maytag, it's not a Gemini washer, but it had two agitators that were like wash plates, and it would wash simultaneously. For a top load, it worked great, but it kept breaking down. That was one of the machines that cost Maytag to go entirely bankrupt. They had, I think, a 2-year parts warranty on those Maytags at that time. So many of them failed with gear cases to where they had to go in and just pay techs just ridiculous amounts of money to go in and fix those machines. And if you make a million bad machines and you have to pay $100 to fix those machines, and you've lost $100,000 or $100 million. My math didn't work. But you lose $100 million on that, and Frigidaire is going through that right now with a recall on their refrigerator ice makers. So they've actually gone in within the past 3 or 4 months, and they have gone in and they have recalled like 350, 400,000 ice makers on refrigerators. And the cost to fix every single one of those is $100 per machine is what they're paying techs to fix it. And they are paying for the cost of the part themselves to redesign it. And I had a question from someone, well, why don't you just build your own washing machine, Ben? The answer is it costs a lot of money to make an appliance. And I can't imagine how much money Frigidaire is going to lose between paying techs to fix it, but having to redesign and reproduce a working ice maker. It's, like I said, $35 million just to fix it, much less the cost of the redesign, which could cost a few $1,000,000 as well. So very expensive when you make a really bad machine. Most manufacturers try to get you outside of the 1-year warranty, and once that's over, they don't really they really don't care at all. If you look at, say, even Samsung's actually have a really good record in terms of them not breaking under the warranty period. Yale Appliance did a survey not too long ago from all their techs, and Samsung was actually the number one brand when it came to not breaking during warranty. But if you're a technician and if you have the brand video that got 1 million views, lots of people, including myself, don't like Samsungs. They're very unreliable, but they're unreliable outside the warranty period. And inside the warranty period, they're great machines. They work awesome. They work themselves great, but they have a high fail rate outside the warranty period. And if you have an extended warranty, you're okay, but then you're paying hundreds of dollars for that warranty, assuming it works, assuming the warranty's good, which not always, but that's what Samsung's really good at. Other brands have a higher fail rate inside the warranty period, but once you make it past the warranty, they still don't break down quite as much as Samsung's do, which they're bad. More questions and things going on. So that was my long-winded Calypso answer. Yes, I've seen one Calypso, and I've seen, I think, one Catalyst. I've seen a really weird Frankenstein direct drive washing machine where it had a recirculation pump on it and then a electronic control board. That was a really weird one. No mechanical timer. It worked. I think it worked great, but the parts were just so rare, I just scrapped the machine because I could eBay it for more money. Could you make an updated flipping guide video? Yes. That is a plan that I do. That is a video I do plan to make, an updated flipping guide. One of the things I want to do is for consumers, that if they do look, for consumers that are buying used or people that are wanting to flip, is good ideas on how to go over an appliance and make sure it's going to be worth your money. Whether you're buying to fix it up so you're not getting into really bad problems, or you can look at it. The thing that we deal with in our shop, and I showed that picture earlier, you're going to have to zoom back to kind of look of all the machines I got behind my camera, but I would say we probably fix 90% of what we get anymore, because we look at the machines before we commit to buying them. from anyone. And I'd say 90% of the time we either know what's bad with it when we buy it, or we've avoided the worst offenders. There are a lot of common, really bad things you get on a appliance, on a washing machine or a dryer or a stove or a fridge, and usually just eyeballing it, you can figure out most things that are bad if you take the time. But it does take some time for you to figure all of those things out. And I should make an updated video, so I do appreciate that suggestion. Let's go over some more comments. Updated. I started fixing stuff around the house when I was a kid. I had to find the light in the back of the dryer. You know, the honest truth is, I am not I wasn't handy before starting appliance repair. My dad didn't teach me anything. He was the least handy man in the world. I do some rentals, and I paid my brother, or my brother paid my dad. My brother has like 200 rentals and has a big YouTube channel. And my dad, we paid him to go fix something at an apartment, and we let him have free reign of the project. He could do whatever he wanted to, and it was a disaster. And that's kind of what I inherited before I learned appliance repair. Maytag Neptune TL, yeah, that was a mess of a machine. Had to get a serviceman out. Fridge was low on gas, not a lot. Was fixed about a month ago and working great. I'm happy. I will do a bootleg Freon video at some point. I have a video, I think, that's going to come out Saturday or next Wednesday, where we have a Frigidaire side-by-side refrigerator. I had my Frigidaire patch on, and we went through the whole system to show you guys how to fix one if it isn't cooling right in the fridge side and not the freezer. And I think the refrigerant's low, so we're going to tap the system in a bootleg way. I don't really want to do that, but I'm going to explain why you don't do that, but then show you how to do that, because you can really screw a system up if you do it the wrong way, unless you have the right tools. And if you have the right tools, it's a lot of money. But, you know, I've seen other bootleg videos, and I'd prefer to do a better one. But yeah, Frigidaire is another one that we're going to work on at some point in the very future. It costs a lot of money to be cheap. I grew up in poverty, so I've had to learn that the hard way, is that it can be expensive to be cheap. If you buy cheap shoes, they will, you know, go bad really fast. And you have to get way more pairs of shoes than one really good pair of work boots or work shoes that will last practically for years. And that is definitely the way it is with appliances. Sometimes you can be too cheap, especially with parts. You buy some Amazon specials and you get burnt. I know I've had a lot of viewers sometimes get burnt because they go cheap on Amazon. Of course, that's a shameless plug for my website, because we deal with a lot of ERP, which works really, really well. But yeah, you can go too cheap sometimes. I consider the Whirlpool machine responsible for the planned obsolescence we get now. Yes, high fail rate. Whirlpool tried to make it better, but people sued them, so now they make junk. I want to get a clip, so just to do a video on it and kind of explain that, because that is exactly how I feel about that machine. Is that was like the Frankenstein machine that set everything up. I don't think it was like the new Coke, where you have the new Coke, everyone hates it, and then you go to the old Coke, which is really not the old Coke. It has HFCS in it. I think it was an honest mistake, but it was the future of what high-efficiency machines were going to bring us, which was way more failures. The machine was too complex, and it broke down even though it had, you know, American parts in it, and now everything doesn't have American parts in it, and it's even worse, so go figure. Thank you for all the information. Just how to replace old mechanical timer on a Kenmore 90 series. I want to get one of my other guys in here to do some of the older, like, because I have a Maytag wizard that worked on Maytags almost exclusively for 10 years. So I want to have him do some old classic videos. At some point, I want to do some classic Kenmore or Whirlpool videos. I tore one down. I know them inside out. You know, you can fix them blindfolded, but learning to repair the timer or replace it would be really good. I probably have, honest to the Lord, the reason I'm doing this channel is I probably have ideas for about 500 videos that I want to do. Once I get the 500 videos done, I can sit back and just say, hey, you know, I'm done doing appliance videos, but I probably have a list of 500 different videos, and I'd want to do maybe 10 or 12 on the old direct drive machines. Kind of done with some of the newer ones, like, you know, Whirlpool dryers. I did 4 videos on the Whirlpool dryer, and I'm kind of done with that. And I don't plan really on going back on it unless I have to do a different style Whirlpool dryer. And that's my goal, is to just kind of, make 3 or 4 videos on each kind of machine and just be done with it. I'm going to do 2 or 3 on Whirlpool side-by-side refrigerators. I got one done. And once I get done with those, I'm done. And then we'll move on to something else, so appliance techs can kind of breathe a sigh of relief, because if I stop making the videos, I'm not going to probably go back and revisit it much. A+ appliance parts, appliances and parts. Much love from SC. I do appreciate all of the other appliance guys out here watching my videos. Some don't like me, some do. I appreciate both, because we've all been there and trying to find a video. Explain technical processes or procedures is what Johannes Brahms said. I hope I got the name all right. That's a lot of editing and script writing. I'm really bad on camera. I have to do everything in post, because I would die if I talked on camera and explained everything while I was doing it, or at least I think I would. But I appreciate all the compliments there for sure. Found a Samsung WA50R 5200 in the junkyard, made a holdover fix so I could run a test load, and it didn't clean to my standards. My F&P Aquasmart did much better with the same load. Yeah, if you get a bad Samsung, it's really bad. It's not going to work that great. F&P, Fisher and Paykel is how you pronounce it, I guess, as one viewer told me. Don't see a lot of those in Central Ohio where I'm at, but the ones I've seen I've really liked. Their top loading dryer is a trip. I don't know if they still make the top loading F&P dryers, but being in appliance repair, I always wondered why they don't make them that way. And then like maybe a week after thinking that, I see one, and the Fisher and Paykel dryers, they open from the very top, which is really awesome. I think it's really cool. So you can just drop your clothes in it like a top load washing machine, drop the lid, and the baffles actually will cycle over and over. It's the baffles that move, I think, a little bit more than the drum, or the drum has a track on the lid, which is really, really cool. It's a really cool design. I know replacing the bearings is like a problem, but really cool dryer. So F&P's made some really cool stuff. They got bought out by Haier or Haier within the past 10 years, much like GE, but people seem to act like Haier or Haier getting GE bought out wasn't a bad thing. So I don't know about F&P on that. I have a multimeter, but my eyesight isn't good enough to read the instructions. We'll go to the camera in a little bit, and I'll show you how to use a multimeter in just a little bit. I do plan on doing that. We're already 30 minutes into the stream, so this is going to go long. But I'll show you how to use a multimeter in a little bit, and also show you some of the scams Samsung does, because I wanted to show you guys some stuff, because I even mentioned it to one of my guys at my shop, and I told him something about these a trick Samsung does to screw people over. He's like, "You got to be kidding me! I didn't realize that." And I'm like, "You didn't know that?" But a multimeter reveals everything. Ended up throwing out the entire Samsung machine. The interesting thing about Samsungs is when you try to scrap them out for like value to do on eBay, because I sell some stuff on eBay, the boards almost never sell for anything, because the boards generally are pretty reliable and they work good. But as soon as you get away from just the board, all the other mechanical parts, because they're so bad and need replaced so often, working used parts on a Samsung like that are worth a lot of money. When you sell used parts, it's like the inverse law. If it's junk, it goes for a lot of money. If it's good and reliable, it doesn't sell for much. And when it comes to Samsung washing machines, I scrapped out a brand new Samsung washer. It was like 6 months old. The shift assembly system on it was shot. The gear case, it'd be called a gear case, I guess, or a transmission assembly. It was shot on a 6-month-old unit, and I didn't have warranty papers on it or anything to get a freebie. But I thought, the drum's good, the board's good, everything's good on this. I'm going to make a ton of money scrapping all the parts. I've had the control board sitting on eBay for $30 on this brand new machine for like 2 months now, and it hasn't sold because the boards are not bad. But then everything else on the Samsung is just awful. Really loved your Don't Buy These Brands video. I have a 93 GE filter flow pair I love. They're so small that I can't wash my bedding in them. A dryer makes a loud whining bearing noise. You want to fix the bearing as fast as possible. I don't think I sell the kits on my website, but I have them in stock. I just keep forgetting to list them. The bearings on a GE, I need to do the video. Gabriel, one of my buddies, has done a great video on it. Washer dryer money. He has a video on fixing that. I want to steal a video and do it so I can sell the bearings. But on the GEs, if you let a GE go too long, the plastic bearings will wear out too much and it will start eating away at your drum bulkhead. And at some point, the metal on metal contact will prevent it from working at all. You definitely want to replace it on a GE. It's like seeing the low oil light on a car. You don't let it go. When you hear a noise on a dryer, you don't let it go. If it's on a washing machine, it's probably shot if you hear a bad noise, so just let it go until it breaks. So yeah, definitely want to fix that GE, because the GE dryers, they don't go bad other than the bearings on them. On them, it's always the noise that goes bad. It's never the heating element. It's never the timers on the old ones. It's always the bearing. So fix it and you may get another 30 years out of it. Let's see. Barbara Carborn said, do I have a fave refrigerator, a trustworthy one? Man, the funny thing is, I would have said like Whirlpool Maytag side-by-sides. I really like Whirlpool Maytag side-by-sides. And I made a video where that was one of my recommendations, and within 2 days, one of my guys, I sold one of those two, and that my recommendation was based off me selling one to a friend of mine and having like 5 or 6 in stock, because I really, really like them for a very new 2021, 22 model. And then he calls me up and says, oh, hey, Ben, the compressor's bad. I need a warranty claim on this fridge that I bought off of you. And I thought, great, I just recommended that, and here we're having to replace the compressor on a $1,000 fridge, and it's gross when you have to do that. GEs I like a lot. I know they're bought out by Hayer, however you want to call it. I like GEs. Most technicians generally will swear by GEs, not because they're perfect, but because the compressor sealed system is generally really good on them. And when it comes to technicians, the thought is, I'm okay with fixing an appliance if it's a cheap repair. What I don't want is something that is going to cost me $300 or $400 or $1,000 to fix because it's the sealed system, there's a leak in it, or it's a really expensive electronic board. They don't want to replace the really expensive things, which, secret of the industry here, control boards are not cheap. Even if at wholesale, at some point I'd almost love to break like an NDA to tell you what wholesale prices are on control boards, but the bad secret of appliance repair is boards are not cheap. If you have to go out and buy a $300 control board for a fridge or a stove or washer, my wholesale price is going to be maybe $220. You make nothing off of those. Generally, appliance techs will make a markup on parts a little bit. If it's maybe a $50 bearing kit, they may get it for $20 or $30. But when it comes to those boards, the wholesale cost is just, if I sell a board at retail, I may make $20 off of it before the core charge. And the core charge is where the board's really not broken. It's a small component, and the company wants it back. So they offer you like $60 to return the non-working board, so they can go in, they can repair the board, and then they can release it back to the market. I'll show you that real quick since I'm on this camera. What happens is, if this board goes bad, and I know I kind of repeat myself a little bit, this board goes bad, it's going to actually be something over here with one of these capacitors that goes bad. And what Whirlpool or GE or any of these companies will do is they'll take the board back for $60 from the technician, and they will go in, they'll just replace this capacitor, and then they will go put it in a brand new unit, or they'll sell it as a reman, or they may sell it like new, and they'll pocket a bunch of money on it. And again, technicians won't make any money, and that's why you have things like the ESR meter to test out and make sure things are, you replace it yourself. Have you or your brother ever secretly done voiceovers for each other's videos since you have identical voices? I don't think we have as identical voices as you think, but that would be a fun idea. I've made videos for Brandon's channel that were on appliances back when he had a channel and I kind of didn't. So there's a few that I'm in that I kind of helped produce, pretty obvious. But I've never done narration, but that's a good one. That is a really good one, Jason. I should do that. Remind me of the Hexologist on YouTube. Haven't got that comment yet about who I look like. I know my brother, everybody keeps saying he looks like Shoe Nice. It's weird that I've never been compared to Shoe Nice. It's always my brother, because I thought, oh, we're twins, so we're going to get the same comment about who he looked like, and so far, never happened. Never happened. Congratulations from Casey on the subs. I appreciate the congratulations. I'm really surprised I've got this many subscribers. You make one or two big videos and people subscribe, and you always want the subscribers, but then when you actually get the subscribers, it's like, oh no, what am I going to do now? I do the technical tutorial videos, but then I do videos that are a little bit more watchable, and I have to kind of balance out the tutorials with the popular things, because the tutorials do really well over a long period of time, whereas the more like this style kind of flash in the pan tend to be, they come and go pretty fast. Frigidaire dryers are like that too. The bearing hitch models, I got one behind the camera, I can't show you. The bearing hitch models, they're notorious, but they're so easy to fix. It's like $20 in parts, and then you have a dryer that's going to last forever. The elements never go bad on those. They're really nice. I really like dealing with the Frigidaires a lot. I never have done like a Frigidaire dryer video, which kind of stinks. Frigidaire doesn't make as many dryers as they used to of that model. I love those things. I love to do videos on them, but then it's like, is anybody going to watch it? I don't know. I'll just have to do it. Do I recommend Speed Queen? Yeah, that was the big one that I talked about when I did brand videos. I like Speed Queen. They are probably not as good as they used to be, but they're still better than anything else on the market. You're going to pay for that a lot. And some people had this debate when I've done videos, is why go out and spend the $4,000 on a Speed Queen when I could just go buy, I guess, 4 basic washer dryer sets and just keep renewing them? That's up to you. That's kind of like a difficult challenge, is whether or not you want one thing to last forever or keep trading in. It's like appliances are almost like cell phones in some ways. You keep trading in and they get you hooked. At some point, I wouldn't be surprised if GE or Whirlpool decided one day to come out with like an appliance subscription to where $50 a month or $100 a month, you get the latest model, and if it ever breaks, they just back the truck up and just drop off a brand new washer dryer set, less the installation fee, so they're not on the hook for it. I heard BMW's doing that with heated car seats or something, and if that's true, and I'm not saying it's true, but if that's true, I wouldn't be surprised if in like 5 or 10 years you could just rent appliances and they get you on the hook forever. Maybe free detergent, free water filters for your refrigerator, but then you're going to pay a rental fee. You'll lease everything and be happy, I've heard people say. Oh no, I was leaning towards the Whirlpool Maytag side by side. Just because I said that happened doesn't mean that it's going to happen for everybody and it's going to happen for you. I had like 5 or 6 of them, and every other one's been great. It's just the one really deflated me, and that was the story I had to tell, that the compressor went bad. But it's very random when that happens. For all I know, he may have done something and boogered up the fridge without telling me, and then that happened, because I sold the others and had a problem. I got one on hold on my sales floor that I'm just waiting on the guy to take care of and pay for. So I do like them. CoreCentric refurbishes boards. Yes, CoreCentric refurbishes a lot of boards, but I don't know if Whirlpool sends all their boards to CoreCentric. And that's a great comment. If you ever have a board that doesn't need fixed, or it needs fixed but you can't get one from the factory, you can always send it usually to CoreCentric and they'll fix it. But if you have the right tools, you can do what CoreCentric does for a few dollars. And I'm sure at some point we'll do a live video where I repair the things, but we'll get to testing in just a minute. Surprisingly, found one with a bad element, a Frigidaire. It does happen. We actually, one we're fixing right now had a bad element. It's very rare to see a Frigidaire with a bad element, and the trick is, and I've never done this on a video, it'd kind of be fun to do it, is some technicians will just go out and buy the Frigidaire wire heating element, and then if they ever get any brand manufacturer tumble dry heating element go bad, whether it's like a Whirlpool or a Samsung or a Frigidaire, of course, or an LG, they'll just rip the wire off, and then they'll just rewire the whole thing, because that wire on the Frigidaire is standard to many makes and models out there, and you can just carry the wire kits and then just replace it with that, and it doesn't matter almost brand from brand. It's all the same $12 or $15 wire. What you're really paying for is the canister. That's where all the money is, even at wholesale. You're not paying for the actual heating capacity of that wire, you're just paying for the canister. That's why I sell the Samsung heating canisters for $70 and I sell the heating elements for $27. It's not that I'm making a whole lot more money on those canisters, it's literally that's what you're paying for. The wholesale price difference between the canister and the heating element by itself is, it's like $30 or $40 more, so you got to charge $30 or $40 more for that can, just for the can. But you can take the can apart, and I almost brought one on camera, is to show you how to take them apart, because they're not hard to take apart. But if you even want to get down to the nitty gritty, you can replace that whole element for $10 or $12 if you're willing to take the time. Most people aren't willing to take the time, so they go out and buy the whole canister. Let's see, they probably make you pay a subscription fee to use certain features, like your heat setting will cost more per month depending on this. Yes. Yeah, at some point we'll probably see the high heat setting cost you, an extra $10 a month. Or if you want to turbo cool, if you want to have ice in your ice maker, they'll charge you a certain upcharge for it, and it includes the water filter. How can I learn to fix Samsung or LG appliances if I'm not authorized? I'm just a one-man op. You can go to servicematters.com and you can get subscribed to them for tech manuals. I go with ApplianceTechManuals.com. That's who I go through. I want to try to work a deal out to get like a wholesale rate for them. But basically, you can pay like $20 a month and get access where you can type in most models of appliances and get the service sheets to where you get all the nitty-gritty details. It stinks for consumers when you can't really get access to it. At some point I want to fix that, but you can get the service and tech manuals and bulletins from the manufacturers through Service Matters and ApplianceTechManuals.com, and they won't show you physically how to fix the stuff, but it'll tell you everything that could ever be wrong with your appliances. And when I'm doing these videos, I'm downloading, literally when I do a video, I'm downloading the tech manual, seeing what's in the tech manual, and then repeating some of that information or showing some of it on camera, because there's just so much value in those hidden tech manuals that are in the washing machines that you never see. It has all the secrets and codes. I wish they'd make them more public, because it would give consumers a whole lot more power. Let's see. Comments. Get the minimum bell and whistle on the Speed Queens. They don't break down, and if they should, they're very easy to service. Speed Queen parts at wholesale are amazing. They're cheap. They are very cheap to fix at wholesale, and even retail they're not that bad. That's one thing I appreciate about Speed Queen. Although I did just buy some washing machine pumps, like the industrial washing machine pumps for my brother for Speed Queens. Those are not cheap. Wholesale is like $110 for them. Retail's like $150. I think you could just like put your hand through the pumps and they'd still wash pretty well, but they're very, very robust. Are there any new washers that are big enough to use enough water to wash big comforters that actually remove cat hair? You'd want something new that probably has an agitator in it, but and LG even has agitators now. But the key matter there is making sure the machine has something called a deep fill mode. You want a washing machine with a deep fill mode, whether it's a top load or a front load. You want to make sure it has that deep fill mode, because the deal is, and I got a lot of people getting mad at me saying it was the government's fault for why machines are the way they are. And when it comes to water usage, it's 100% the government. You're not legally allowed to fill a washing machine full of water in the United States and probably around the world. You can only have so much water in the washing machine to use it on a residential cycle. It's about like 12 to 15 gallons depending on capacity. The deep water mode is a circumventing mode that does away with the regulations. You can't automatically set it to a high water level usage and get away with it legally in the United States. If you really paid attention to Whirlpool washing machines for a while on top loaders, when they introduced the high efficiency top load VMW, it only had what they called an autofill setting. You could only autofill it, and everyone hated that. And then all of a sudden, with some of the new models that are maybe within the past 3 or 4 years, they have the deep fill mode on some, maybe not all of them. And that deep fill mode is a cheater switch that lets you actually fill it up all or most of the way. So just make sure it has a deep fill option. A lot of GEs have it, and it should fill up with enough water to actually get your clothes clean. So yeah, there you go. Let's see, the comments are going faster than I can read them. I can't believe it. So Corn Life says, see if you can translate features into Spanish. That's actually a really good point or a comment. I will tell you what I'm working on is I know that there are not a lot of Spanish language channels out there for appliance fixing. I actually have a hidden secret, and you may see it at some point, and I'll announce it. I'm trying to work with some people to get my videos not only captioned in Spanish, but narrated in Spanish. I have a Spanish narrator and script writer where maybe we can get to some point to be able to just rebroadcast every video in Spanish, because there's a lot of Whirlpool and GE down in Latin America, and I would really like to get those videos taken care of at some point. Literally, I have a video done, and I've uploaded it to a new channel. I just haven't announced it yet. I kind of want to have like 10 videos before we do that, and I'm going to try to focus on the more important models that maybe help our Spanish-speaking friends. I'm reading all your comments. It's going so fast, I get long-winded. Stay away from Samsung refrigerators. They have so many inherent problems that have no fix. I'm trying to fix the ones that have no fix. I think a lot of it's fixable. It's just going to be some sort of shady workaround. Off topic, but did you ever remodel the empty unit in your duplex or triplex property? Yeah, we did fix the one that was really bad. We had to clean it out, but we got it taken care of. I am working on some more of those still. Going through more comments. Ours from 05, Glitter Fart says, ours from 05 has a 4-stage water level. The max stage is 32 gallons. Anything up to about 2012, legally you could fill it as much as you want. Generally about 09 was the cutoff before you really stopped seeing the units that had the dial-in variable yield gallon adjustment knob. Whirlpool direct drives got phased down about 2011, 2012. That was like the best one that had the at the end they had like a 5-position fill switch on it, and you could fill it however much you wanted, and you could do all kinds of fun stuff with it. You could fill it as much or as little as you wanted. I love those, but the government said you couldn't do it. And of course the manufacturers went along with it. They loved that because then that meant people were going to get ticked off, and they wanted to, and they end up not working right because of the control boards, and of course you replace them more, and planned obsolescence and everything else. Fun times, but I still blame the government. You have any videos on Speed Queen? No, I don't. I don't have any videos on Speed Queen because they are so uncommon where I live to fix that I don't get them. And that's why I suggest them too, is because I don't get repair videos on them. And it's the same thing with Miele washers and dryers. Some people in Europe ask, why don't I talk about Miele? It's because people own them even in Central Ohio, but I never see them to fix them or do videos because they're hard to kill. And when I do get a Speed Queen washer in, what happens with the Speed Queen washer is one of two things happens. Is either it's so broken I can't do a video unless I faked it. Do I have to fake, oh yeah, this is what you do to fix it because the transmission's blown up because it's 30 years old, or it ends up being something that we end up really wanting to fix fast and get out the door because we can make a lot of money because they're cheap to fix. But if I can find one that's fixable with some affordable fix, then we're definitely going to do that at some point in the future. LG front loaders, they're welding the tubs on so they can't change the bearings or the spider arm. I didn't know that. If they're doing that, that's gross. Used to be on most models, if you had to change the bearings or the spider brackets, they just have these giant Torx screws that you could impact on and off, replace the $100 bearing, and you'd be good. But if it's now the whole tub assembly, that's going to be a big mess. Definitely a big mess. Currently reading the chat, answering the questions that I find here. It's working on getting this. Oh, Someone repeated that. Yeah, I want to have a I shouldn't say I want. I have a Spanish language channel. It has one video. That's all it has is one video. But the problem is I don't know Spanish, so I'm having to find people that can do the whole gamut in Spanish that can help me to not only make the videos translated in Spanish so that it sounds okay and everything matches up, and then get them on YouTube to where people can actually see the videos. And that's kind of like a YouTube thing, is I can make the videos in Spanish really well, but until I can like list them in Spanish properly, then it's an issue. Aaron Straw says, what do you think of Midea washers? Midea is a Chinese brand. It is made in China, shipped over here. I suspect the thought among a lot of techs about Midea is that they probably make a lot of the Samsung parts and some of the LG parts and maybe even some of the Whirlpool parts. They're a huge conglomerate, and they actually make like every microwave you find on the market. Even like Midea makes Whirlpool microwaves. Midea makes GE microwaves. And a few other things as well. And I think they make a lot of the parts that then they assemble on to the washing machines. They look a whole lot like a knockoff Samsung for $100 cheaper. And I suspect it's mostly the same parts except for the PCBs, because that's where the patents are, is the electronics. And they definitely are using different electronics, but the other components look very similar. So I would imagine they'd probably be a good deal. Their fridges are nice. I've seen their refrigerators more and more often at Lowe's and Home Depot, and they look nice. How reliable they are, I don't know. Hard to guess. Someone Spinny Mathangi says that he doesn't like Miele. Get 10 calls a day to repair their products, and you don't advertise for Miele. Probably not a lot of techs that want to fix them. The thing about Miele is, my understanding is, they're generally super reliable, but if you have to fix it, it's going to be very, very hard, because not only are people not trained on Miele very much, but they're German, so they are very difficult to take apart. Bosch is similar in that regard. We fix way more Bosch than I've seen Miele, and the Bosch are awful to fix, but not impossible. They also have resettable thermal fuses on the dryers, which I never figured out why no one else does that. Really, really cool on that end. I appreciate you translating into Portuguese. I don't know Spanish. I don't know Portuguese. I would love to have channels in both those languages. Eventually, I hope we can do that, is to translate everything into Spanish and Portuguese, so we can, help out our friends in Mexico and Brazil. I'm willing to actually dedicate money that I earn from my English-speaking channel to do that, even if I don't make much money, just to make sure people get helped, because I know down in Latin America, and especially when it comes to the old washing machines, we'll have to do more videos, because I know they tend to get a lot of our older machines, and they fix them up, and some of the tool and die sets are down there, and they fix a lot of them. So at this juncture, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and show you guys some stuff on my second camera. You probably didn't see that yet. Real quick, Aaron M., I own an appliance store. What is your thought on Hisense at Lowe's lately? My understanding about Hisense is that they are really basic, cheap, no-nonsense units. They look really simple, which is good. You don't want, when it comes especially to refrigerators, you don't want complex. You do not want a complex machine. The more complex they are, the worse they are to fail. And they look like basic bargain budget units, which is not a bad thing. I know one of my guys that works for me, he used to help run an appliance store, and he really liked those lower end Hisense Daewoo unit, Hisense or Daewoo or some of the other companies, because they worked. Nothing fancy, they just worked. And I think that they may not be too bad. I'd love to tear apart more in the future, but I have to have them to fix them. What area am I in? CA Nation said Speed Queens are a big deal here in Kentucky. Central Ohio, any thoughts on Beko or Beko or Beaker? I don't know. Started working on them. I'm not sure how to feel about them. That's a Turkish brand, big in Europe. Most of the European users don't like them, from what I've heard. But I don't know. My worry about them being in the United States would be parts. when it comes to foreign brands, and Dave was like super notorious about this, when it comes to parts on overseas brands, it's very hard to get replacements. And if you're in Europe, it'd be really easy, but in the United States, it may be hard to get your warranty products, and that would make me very, very leery. What's your opinion on LG appliances? I'm suffering on a third fridge board control. I like their washers and dryers. I hate their fridges, or at least I strongly dislike them because the compressors go bad. Their fridges are okay, but they have board issues. They have a lot of board issues, but maybe better than Samsung. So good for laundry, bad for kitchen. Their dishwashers are kind of suspect too. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go over to the other feed, and I'm going to show you some stuff real quick. Hopefully the audio works. I will try to read the comments while I do this. But let's go over here, moving some stuff around for what I'm doing. So here's what I got, guys. And I hope that this goes well. I apologize, depending on how this does or doesn't work. So one thing I wanted to show you, I got the ESR meter. Maybe we'll use it in a little bit. I said 6 to 7, but I'm still going to go a little bit. But one of the things I wanted to show you is why a multimeter is important. Here's a multimeter. I have a second camera. It's straight up. I know the color content isn't the best, but we're going to try to do some stuff real quick. And if you can't see it, I apologize. We'll go back to the main feed. But here, if you don't work on appliances, multimeter, lots of different things you can do with the multimeter to be able to test appliances. And one of the things I wanted to show you was, and this is kind of like a scammy thing that Samsung does, is we talk about how maybe it's one manufacturer that makes a lot of different things. And I want to show you something Samsung does. I have here, I'm going to show you something on these sensors. Is I have some temperature sensors here, and I think I have a defrost thermostat somewhere. But I have some temperature sensors from Samsung. And the one interesting thing about these Samsung sensors is that a lot of these, one of the scams that Samsung pulls, and this is what kind of frustrates me, is all the sensors that Samsung sells, they're all the same thing. They're just with different connectors to them. And you're not paying for anything other than the connection style, which is really, really crazy. Go back here just real quick and see if the chat's updating. I was wondering if the chat is updating because no one said anything for like 10 seconds. So, let's see. Okay. Okay, so the live feed's still working. Okay, so let's go back to this. And the thing is, with these Samsung sensors, is these are two totally different sensor styles. For Samsung, you can see that the connectors are definitely different on these. But the bad thing about these units is that they are all the same on the inside, and Samsung scams people doing this. Samsung will charge you anywhere from like say $10 up to say $50 for these things, even though they all test the same, or at least they should. And to prove that theory, I have my ohm meter here set to amperage, or not amp. Why am I on amperage? I need ohms. I got this on set on ohms, and here's basically, sometimes I do it on camera, but hopefully this works. So there we got 473 ohms on this LG 00029Q sensor. This is one of the more expensive ones that are out there. And ambient temperature. And what that does is when it goes and it shows a different setting on this, or a different ohms rating, it sends that signal to the control board so it knows how hot or cold the unit is, so it adjusts the temperatures. But again, the thing is, the probes on these are almost, these are totally identical. So we had 473 on that one. We should get 473 roughly on this one. So same, hadn't touched the multimeter at all. And we are going to test that, and we are getting 474. I'm going to see if I can move this. I'm trying to do too many things at once. But if you see that, 479 ohms on this. So it's about 6 ohms off. And the thing about that is that these are totally different prices. This one, wholesale from Samsung, is like $5. It's a 1010-5X. I sell quite a few of them because they're the basic thermostat wire harnesses. Again, wholesale's real cheap. Retail's like $12. But this 00029Q, I think these wholesale are like $15. And the only difference really is that connector and the length of the wire. But if you go through all the different ones that Samsung has, well, they're all practically the same thing except the wire harnesses, which is really frustrating for me because Samsung constantly changes these designs around and they charge you different amounts of money for practically the same thing. But sometimes they are different. These ones always catch me in some sort of different resistance value. Let's see. CA said, I tried to take my own YouTube contact with my repair business. How do you say go about it? Long form blog content of my calls or to break down. If I decided to try and make my own YouTube contact with my repair business, how would you say to go about it? Long form blog content of my calls or 2 breakdowns of each appliances. You could do either one. Maybe 2 breakdowns of each appliance would probably be a little bit better if you wanted a little bit more action on YouTube, but the calls are going to be better for text, so it depends on who your audience, if you want your audience to be maybe more text, or if you can make it into something really exciting to kind of show what, if you did it kind of like a day in the life of, that could also be super popular. I don't think anyone does that really good for appliances. If you could find out how to do that, well, it wouldn't take away my audience, but I think it could be really popular. So I got a Samsung thermistor here. We got ohms, and this one's giving us 887, or it's 8.86, somewhere around that area. It's pretty hot where I'm at, so that's 8,500. So that's this is a dryer sensor, and I'm just kind of showing you, just a few different things. I have no idea what I'm doing, or I know what I'm doing, I just don't know why I'm doing it. But these sensors, they can go bad and cause heat problems, and it's kind of cool how the fact that that's your resettable fuse right there, and that causes a lot of problems. And one thing I wanted to show you real quick before we go back to the main feed, and I will go through and try to read some comments. But here's and I wanted to show you this because I love this machine dearly. This is what tells you, this kind of fights technical obsolescence here. This is a BK Precision, and again, I hope you guys can hear me, this is a BK881. What this does is it's going to let me take this Whirlpool washing machine board, and I had it already staged so I could take this out of the box. But this one's bad. This is an eBay return. I guess we sold it to someone and didn't realize it didn't work, or they blew it up and said it didn't work. And what this does is it's going to let me test the different capacitors on this control board to see what in the world's going on and why it may be not working. These are not cheap. Most techs are probably not going to actually have one of these. But they're really, really, really stinking cool. And what these do is, I'll show you over here. We got it set up ESR. I'm going to turn this on. This is on. What's going on here is I'm going to test the capacitors, and I have to check the ESR rating against the ohms that show up. And if it goes too high vertically, if it goes too high vertically, it can tell me if this capacitor is bad. So instead of having to take the capacitors off and test them individually, well, I can just do it on the board, which will save a lot of time and money. So we go through these and test them pretty often and see if we get good or bad ratings. So that's 1.5 there, and I think you guys can, not that you can see everything, but that's 1.5 ohms on this particular capacitor right here. And that is a 1000 UF. So here, and like I said, this is a bad board. So we got up here 1.5 ohms when we test that capacitor, and you have to reference it over here. Basically, anything other than it being at this very bottom tier for red means that that is bad, and it lit up like a stinking Christmas tree. So we'll test that again. See, it's about 1.2, 1.5. And it would be okay if it was a smaller capacitor, but it's not. It's right here, and that means that that capacitor is totally stinking shot. And this is a $200 Whirlpool board, $300 Whirlpool board, and it's totally shot based on one 50-cent capacitor. It's this one right here. And if you ever have a bad board, one of the ways you can tell sometimes if it's bad is to look and see if it is domed or not. It's not domed, but we can test it. And you can go through and just go through everything, and if you figure out what size the capacitors are, you can just go through and start testing every single one of them. That one's actually bad too. That one's bad. There's a varistor on it, so it's a little bit smaller. That one, see, just so that it doesn't go all to the same one. That one's good. So there's you can go through and test all these different capacitors, but when you do it a lot, you find out that on the slightly older Whirlpools, it's typically this one if it's good or bad. And I think Whirlpool realized that the design was bad because this is a newer Whirlpool board. Same washing machine, it would look identical on the outside with the oval lights, but two totally different style boards. And they've changed a lot of the components around. They've eliminated a lot of them, especially the capacitors. It's been repositioned in certain areas, and they've taken some of the larger wire harnesses away, but that capacitor is vacant. You still have the transformer down there. I think it's like a 12-volt step down, but they've definitely revised it. But on these new ones, and if you're a technician, here's some advice for you. On these new ones, the capacitor works really well. But if you get some horrible feedback from like a bad drain pump, it can actually pop the board and destroy this R050 resistor right here. So if you have a bad pump, it sometimes can actually take out that resistor right there, and you could put a new pump on it and still have a bad board. The focus on my camera, I got a new camera for all this, and the lens is really bad, so I can't do everything in focus. But if you could see that, it's a let's see if I can. No, it's out of focus. It's a R050 resistor, and those go bad on those boards. They're literally $1 at wholesale, but this is a $300 board that could go bad for $1 worth of electrical equipment. So that's one of the things that happens with appliance repair that's pretty crazy. Let's go through the feed. Hopefully I can get through some more things that you guys are asking. Let's see. Aaron M. asked, Ben, do you repair alone? No, I have two other guys that help me. I've had Jeff, I think, here and there on one or two videos. He did a board repair video, I think, although I only showed him for like a few seconds. He does work with me. He does a lot of shipping now, too. But he does a lot of good repairs with me. He's invaluable. And then I have an older gentleman, Greg, who's not been on the camera at all, which I want to get him in my little studio with a Maytag at some point, because he's really incredibly good with Maytags, old real Maytags, the old real ones. So I have two guys that help with that, and another guy that helps with shipping stuff. Goober Walla asked, could you name or make models that do not have computer cards? The only one that I can think of that does not have computers is the one I own in my house that I just bought, and it is FFRT. I think it's an FFRT 1835. It's a Frigidaire, and it is a freezer top. and it does not have any boards in it. It has the old style mechanical timer in it. I don't know how it's legal to make them anymore because of government regulations, but it's 100% electromechanical. You can get them, I think, up to 20 cubic feet. What I really want to do is I want to buy another one of them, and I want to have 2 freezer top fridges side by side, and I want to offset the doors so one opens on the right hand side and the other one opens on the left hand side. So it's like a French door, but 2 totally separate units. And I want to do that because they're all mechanical. That's the only brand, that is the only model number, and it's the one I have because I got it from my shop. It's the only one I can think of that is 100% mechanical. If it has a failure, I would still be worried about potentially the sealed system because I think they're made in Mexico, but everything's mechanical and the parts in them are $10, $20 tops. And as long as the sealed system doesn't go bad, I'm going to keep it forever. Using that phrase, wire harness, how I met my wife. That's a good one. I appreciate the $5 super chat. Thank you for your videos. Learned a thing or two from you. I appreciate it. That's why I do it. I get calls and messages from a lot of thankful people, and it means a lot when people say that what I did mattered, because you put these videos out and you don't know if anybody's going to watch it or not, and if it's going to work, and then you get these comments that are like, hey, everything got fixed. And it really does mean a lot that people were able to fix the things in their house, because I grew up poor, and I know that my mom had to pay to get dryer fixed, the washer fixed, quite a few times, and she doesn't have to do that anymore, thanks to me. But I didn't know how to do it as a kid, and it's not like my dad was handy, so go figure. What are your thoughts on portable washers and dryers? What brand would you recommend? Depends on what you define as portable. There are some really small, really portable washers and dryers out there that are $200. I've seen a few and sold a few that are really basic units. I don't have enough experience with them to say that they're bad or good, but the consumers I've talked to that use the really small portables think they're the greatest thing ever. And I think that they're not overusing the machines to where they're causing problems and breaking down. I think that one of the things about modern appliances are they are more finicky than the old ones, in the fact that they don't tolerate lack of maintenance like old machines do. And I think that people like to overload and not check lint filters and do other things like that are preventative maintenance. And I'm going to do a video about preventative maintenance at some point. But the problem I run into a lot is people don't check lint traps. Their dryer breaks. They come to me to buy a used one or a new one, and then the new or used one breaks because they never really fixed the problem. There was a problem at their house that never got addressed. And if you don't fix the core problem, it doesn't matter what you buy. You can go buy the Speed Queen. The Speed Queen will not work if your lint filter's clogged. You can go buy the LG. You can buy whatever you want to. And the older units have a little bit more tolerance for the lack of maintenance. But if you don't maintain it, it's still going to be a huge problem, I think. And I believe on newer units, that's a bigger problem more than ever before. Because if you have a machine that is going to operate at 12,000 RPMs to spin the basket, and you overload it, then you're amplifying how dangerous that is on the new machine. On the old one, they don't go very fast, so it can go out of balance, and well, at 800 RPMs, maybe it doesn't matter. But at 1200, it's going to cause some problems. And I think that's kind of something that happens. Tommy said 0006 Dublin, Ireland. That means that you are watching very late at night, and I definitely appreciate you doing that. Don't deal with. I know there's different appliances in Ireland. I know you have some of the same ones we do here, but then it's 240, so not really. But I appreciate you watching so very, very much, Tommy Hanlon. Yoon asked, introduction to ROHS reduced the reliability of products. I don't think that ROHS really. I don't know if that necessarily caused the problem. I know some people think that. I think the fact that they're using mediocre parts in control boards is the problem, because if I gave you the name and the brand names of the manufacturers on the boards, they're okay, but they're not great manufacturers. And that's a problem, is they're not using the highest quality components. And the other problem is some of them are undersized. The capacitor that's bad on that one PCB I showed you earlier, it's bad because it's undersized. You can go in and put a higher voltage capacitor in and it'll last 10 times longer than what the original one did. It maybe costs like 10 cents more, but they didn't spec it out that way. Let's see. Reading. Yeah, you can always send the thank you after the chat or at any other video for sure. So I always accept money and all that because it feeds my fat kids. I don't have a Patreon set up. Prone said I should set one up. I have Patreon, I just haven't set it up. I'm kind of thinking more, I'm thinking either doing Patreon or YouTube memberships, because what I'm thinking about doing with memberships at some point is that the truth is I get so many comments now, it's really bad, that outside of a live stream where I can read everything, I probably get 100 comments a day, maybe 200 comments a day if it's busy. And I don't want to talk about how many phone calls I get, and then I don't know how many emails I get a day. And I'm thinking about doing memberships and things to where it puts a little emoji or whatever on when you comment, so I can actually filter out all the priority comments to actually respond. And then maybe have an upgraded service to where maybe it includes tech manuals and some other stuff and coupon codes for the parts if I have them available, to where you can spend a monthly fee. The Whirlpool subscription service we talked about earlier, where maybe you can get some more dedicated support from myself or some of the guys I work with, or heck, could even employ if there's enough members to kind of help fix things and get things taken care of. So yeah, Patreon, I'm totally aware of it. Merch, t-shirts, coffee mugs, Maytag repair hats. Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about it. I try to think about these things a lot in the time that I have, but there are not enough hours in the day, guys. I wish, I love my family, but coming from other work and jobs with other like entrepreneur businesses, I'm used to working 60 hours a week for years, and I don't quite work that much anymore. I actually do have Saturdays off, which I think for 5 years I didn't have Saturdays off. There's just so much I could do, and it's just a matter of prioritizing what do I start with, because there's just so much going on with the appliance channel video and the business too. Get some merchandise. We'll buy some tees. The hat would be awesome. So I have another hat. It was like make appliances work again. It didn't go over too well. But now with these Maytag hats, and I'll show you this real quick. The thing about the Maytag hat is that, this is why I wear the hat, by the way. What I kind of would love to do is get this sewn. And I don't know if I'd want to do the Maytag hat or show you guys my little secret. Because people are like, oh, I'm shilling for Maytag. I have a Maytag hat. Guys, this is replaceable. This is 100% replaceable here. It's a patch, but the reason I do that is I can go over to my bin off screen and go get some other patch. So I can take this. Oh my gosh, is it mirrored? Is the image feed mirrored where you can't see Maytag? I don't know. Oh, no. Okay, so, see? Well, it's not on right. But you get the idea. I can switch this out for the different videos so people think that I show for, whoever. See? Whirlpool. I just started off with Maytag, and I got a Frigidaire around here somewhere else because I had that for another video. So, go figure. My Kenmore dishwasher started making humming noises. Fix or replace. Humming noises probably are going to be something to do with maybe the drain. I would check the drain. I'd check the filters. Try to clean it out. See where the location of the noise is. And if you can fix it, it's probably better if it's especially an older Kenmore. Anything probably 10 years or older is probably going to be worth the fix. What's the right to repair like for circuit boards and the schematics accessible? I'm not aware of how the schematics are accessible on these control boards. The thing about control boards, and this is total honesty, 90% of the time that you have a problem with one of these boards, 90% of the time you have an issue, it's going to be either a capacitor or a relay, and that's all it's going to be. where you don't have to worry about the schematics. You just trace it down with the ESR meter. This, all you gotta do is trace it down, and you fix probably 80% of the problems on these. So it's almost like screw right to repair. You can just do it in, screw whirlpool, because it's usually a very simple problem on these washer boards. Washer boards tend to be capacitors. Dryers tend to be relays. The relays go bad on these to where it switches on and off between heat cycles, and eventually those contacts go bad. And when that happens, well, you got to go in and replace it. But they end up being very, very cheap. I have a video where, and I'll do more videos where we go in and replace components on the control boards, but 80-90% of the time it's a $10 part. I actually sell all the relays for practically all the appliances and sell repair kits, but they're really, really easy to clean. Really, really easy. Does it clean dishes? Good one. I appreciate all the comments. I'm trying to read everything as fast as I can go. I didn't think there'd be as many people live as there are, so I didn't think I'd have as many comments. So I'm, responding to comments instead of doing part testing or teardowns as much. I'll probably do one more teardown real quick before we leave, because there's one thing I wanted to do. The hire help for Ben Fund. Manage the administrative duties. It's hard to scale sometimes when you find success. I do everything myself. All the videos I edit myself. Everything I do with the video is 100% me. 110% what I do. No one helps me. But I mean, that's just what I'm used to on it. And at some point, I'll take care of it, and hire more people. My wife wasn't very excited about the possibility of me doing appliance repair on YouTube when I started. And I kind of did it after hours for 2 years, about 2 hours a night for about 2 years solid to make the videos. And then now everything's going really good. So she's much more happier with the situation that we've found ourselves in, with being able to make money from YouTube and use this as a thing. Reading comments. Yeah, there's a lot of different quirks with electronic designed appliances. There's a lot of limitations. It was nice when you just had a knob that you could adjust everything on. I appreciate you putting my video on Gab. Crone, I do appreciate the Canadian dollars. That's that's probably worth more now than 10 US dollars with inflation and everything. Mom and Dad are proud. Mom's very proud. I wish my dad was alive to see this. He would be very surprised. He would be very surprised, because he would tell me, Ben, I did not teach you how to do any of this, so I'm very impressed. So that would be a thing. 220 vac in over there in Ireland, 240 vac over in UK. Most manufacturer appliances share both markets. I know Europe uses a lot of 220, so it does create some very interesting situations with, like, especially refrigerators, where certain parts use DC and it's universal, and then other parts use AC. And so, like on a, say, a Samsung or LG refrigerator, some of the parts are the same in the United States and are much cheaper than they are in Europe for the same thing Samsung has. But then certain parts, like the heating elements, are vac, and it creates a lot of problems. In the way of your prices are jacked up and they stink, even though they're probably the exact same thing coming from the same Chinese factory. So go figure. John Thomas said, my 9-year-old Kelvinator dishwasher that only gets used twice a week had an error code. Appears the switch and our control board is bad. Amazon wants $200 to purchase it. Big thing about the Kelvinator dishwasher, I think that's going to be a Frigidaire dishwasher. I do a lot of eBay shopping. Find the board number, throw it on eBay, see what's going on. One big thing is to find out if there's a core charge involved with the board, where the manufacturer will give you a discount on getting the board back to them. If there's a core charge, it means it's fixable, and you may be able to find someone to pay them $100 to fix the board, as opposed to getting the brand new board. Every time we've done a board replacement, and I promise you this, every time we've done a board replacement on an appliance, we've had to put a new capacitor in it, Never had a return in my life. And I know a lot of techs that do it. The return rate on repairing a board over replacing the whole board, it's like 99% works for over a year. And sometimes they have to go. I've heard techs go back to houses where they've done board repairs to have to fix something else will go bad on the appliance before that board repair will need repaired. Kelvinators, Frigidaire, or Electrolux. Yeah, so I'm just trying to think of the dishwasher models. You definitely should be able to find a used board. I can't remember the nomenclature for those specific boards offhand, but I imagine if it's an error code, it's probably a cap that's bad on the board that's not providing enough voltage, and maybe able to replace it for way cheaper. Or try used, and then if not used, see if there's something physically damaged on the board. Maybe able to find some stuff. So one thing I'll show you real quick. I don't know if this is going to interest anyone. Is one more question. Whirlpool Lifetime Ultimate Care LSQ makes a loud clanging noise when it's on spin cycle. Should I try to fix it? Yes. That's going to be a direct driver. Is it not worth it? No, it's always worth it. You have a Speed Queen on the way. Ultimate Care 2s are like the highest end direct drive that Whirlpool ever made. Kenmore 90 series, same exact one underneath. If you don't fix it, sell it to someone that will. Any of us techs love fixing those kinds of old washing machines because you can fix it and get another 20 years usually. But what would cause the loud clanging noise when it's on spin cycle? You want to check the springs, check the dampening pads. Metal on metal contact almost sounds like the tub's rubbing somewhere underneath. Those use a trunnion system. I tore one down to kind of show you how those work. Metal on metal contact should be a spring or something like that. So I'd definitely look at those things. Take the lid off. I kind of show you how to do that in the video where I tear the old and new ones down. They're super easy to get into, and I think if you just take the chassis off and look, you'll probably find why it's clanging. And if you don't, you can bypass the lid lock and just run the thing without the whole enclosure on it and just physically see what the crap is banging around on that unit. And you'll be able to get down to figure out exactly what's wrong really, really fast. One real quick thing that he said he had to replace the coupler between the motor and transmission. That's plastic and rubber, so it's not going to make a clanging noise. But it could be, the motor could be clanging on something underneath. One thing, I've gone 30 minutes over what I said I would. I'll show you a modern Whirlpool washer timer real quick. I don't know what else to do other than answer questions, but I'll show you this real quick. These are really notorious for going bad. I wanted to fix one on live, but I found I didn't have everything to do it. So I'm going to show you the inner workings of a electromechanical dryer timer. These are still being made. We call them Mexico timers because they are made in Mexico. They're okay. They're not the best, but they're still mechanical, so they're kind of neat. What multimeter do you use? Do you have an ESR meter for boards? Yeah, you must have just got here. This is my ESR meter. This is a BK881. We used it earlier in the video, so you rewind. I showed you how to use it. I showed you a bad cap with it. These are not cheap. They're $200 plus tax. I don't know what they'd cost in Ireland. There's another brand that looks very similar but a different color called GME. You can get them on eBay, at least in the US, for about $120 plus shipping, and they're knockoffs. I wish I could figure out where to get these wholesale to start selling them, because these are perfect. These are amazing. They cost $200, but you fix one board with it and you've paid for the machine itself, and we fixed hundreds of boards. All you do, turn it on, press the leads together, and it tells you, it runs electricity through whatever, and it tells you if it's good or bad. It's like playing a video game. Really, really cool. Really cool. So let's go over to my testing board real quick. And of course, we got wires everywhere. This is a Whirlpool dryer timer. These are notorious for going bad. They're notorious for going bad, but I say that in the way of after 5 to 7 years, the contacts just go bad, and you have to replace them. Eventually, I want to come out with a repair kit to fix these contacts, because what happens is I have it on a high heat setting. I've memorized
the gear, the clock working in these really well. It's got that nice mechanical sound to it. You turn on a high heat mode, which is typically in the 2 o'clock position. You take out your multimeter, you look at it, you set it to ohms, and what you're supposed to do is test these different the different settings on it right here, and you're generally supposed to get some sort of continuity or beeping noise. And I can turn the multimeter I use here. It should be beeping. It should be beeping right now. At least I think it should be beeping. Should be beeping, and it's not because the contacts inside are shot. And you can actually go into these and physically repair them if you are so savvy. It's my first video, actually. Oh, well, there's a big old super chat that came in. Thank you. So you can take these apart, and it's the first video I did, and I got to go in and kind of redo the video at some point to make it actually look nice. But you can go in and take a look at the clockwork on these and see what makes one of these quote-unquote tick. And this is a new one. I almost wanted to grab an old one for my storage to show you an old one, but I didn't know if I could take it apart on camera as easily as this one, because this one comes apart real easy. I've taken the 2 screws out. This is the motor. Wish I could find the motors for these. So we separate the motor with the long screws there, and we flip the timer over. You definitely got to flip it over, because this is what the guts of a fancy, modern, but mechanical timer look like. Everything's there. Hopefully you can see it on the camera okay. But you have different pieces on this particular unit. You have 1, 2, 3 plastic cog pieces. Some of the higher end ones have additional tines here. And what happens here, and this happens on the electrical fancy control boards for dryers the same, but it's all internalized with the relay. But what happens is these contacts here, A, B, C, and then H, they go bad to where they're pressed together, and hopefully you can kind of see it. But these are pressed together right here, and they don't make contact. They make contact, but they're burnt. And what you can do is go in and replace the contacts, or merely sand them off to get them working again. And maybe I can show you with the multimeter again. But the idea being, you should be able to use your multimeter, and you get a noise if it works. Typically, you can get a tone if you physically press hard enough to make contact. If I press lightly, I get a little bit, or I get the contact there. But what's going to happen is it's typically this one right here on the far end. I'm getting no tone. I'm getting a little bit of I'm not getting a tone if I tap all these. But if I press really hard on this brass connector, I'm getting a little bit of a tone. Pressing super hard, releasing, pressing super hard. And what happens is the clockwork on this can't physically connect the relays, but you can go in, you can sand them down, you can press them together with a needle nose plier a little bit better, and then you can restore functionality to these. And this is about a $100 timer that you can fix with a 10-cent emery board. So that's kind of one of the interesting things that's out there in appliance repair that I wanted to show you. Someone said yours from 2014, it definitely has that in this. Never been replaced. Cross your fingers that you never have to. But if it goes bad, you can sand these down, especially in a pinch, to restore heat to it. I would say it's pretty common on these newer ones, but just something to show you guys a trick of the trade, because these do go bad. Tyler, your comm said you can usually see the contact is burnt. I bought a fancy lens for that camera, but it's really not showing anything very good on screen. I don't know how well it is here, but hey, this camera works a whole lot better. There's way more lighting apparently, but you can see it. But yes, on this side over here, it's typically this contact on the very far end is bad, but this is an American Whirlpool
gear case. We call it a Mexico timer because it's made in Mexico. But this is all it is. Not that you can see it too well, but the gear case here is 3 or 4 different layers. And this is bad. So I will take it apart for you and show you. This is basically a computer, but old style. You can see that there's ridges and notches in it, and as the motor provides power to it, it slowly turns, and you get your different modes on essentially what is binary. You can see the ridges and dots in it, and what is so cool with these is you can see if it's a high flat part that you're going to get heat because it's going to press against the gear case, and on the other ridges it's going to shut everything off. And between that and the cogs in it work. And fortunately, you don't have to have too many features on a dryer to make it work. Now, the catch being is that in the future, they'll go to more and more heat pump dryers that will have compressors on them. And I am sure that when you have a refrigerator compressor integrated into the dryer, you're going to have more and more electronics in it, and it will fully phase out the mechanical clockwork at some point. So that's going to be a thing. But for now, you can still get mechanical geared timers. GE dryers are also mechanical timers. They're pretty similar. They're not ultra similar, and they're not made in Mexico. They're made in Taiwan. For some, and the contacts don't go bad in those. It's usually the plastic shafts. And the pro tip: if you ever have a GE dryer and that shaft ever goes bad and snaps off, just go grab a Whirlpool knob. These are longer and deeper than the GEs, and you can just throw it back on the shaft and it'll work. That's a nice little hack that's out there. My voice is starting to go bad, so I'm almost done with this feed. John Thomas has a great comment. I like that. As an electrician, you are always tempted to go have a washing machine motor timer output, a 30 amp relay, start and stop the motor, so cheap undersized contacts would last forever. That is a great comment. I have seen on the YouTubes before, in a language that I couldn't understand because it was in the Philippines, I've seen technicians take Panasonic washing machines, basic top loads that just have the wash plates in them, and they have ripped whatever electronics are out of them and wired them with stove relays. The knobs that the mechanical relay stove knobs, basically to rewire it. So all you do is you turn it on and off, and your yield on the stove, which would increase or decrease your temperature, would just increase the amperage feed to the motor, so you had fast and slow. And it was the most brilliant thing I've ever seen in my life because they hacked that sucker together. But by golly, they got the washing machine working, and it was so cool because it was a $5 relay that they had gutted the control board out of. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. Ben, where do you think you and Brandon got your work ethic and willingness to help others? My brother and I are devout Christians, and I would like to think and credit God for that. I would also credit our poverty. We grew up in a very poor household. Didn't have a lot. I mean, I didn't know I didn't have a lot, but we didn't have a lot growing up. So we had to get jobs at 18. We didn't go to college. We didn't do anything special or glamorous with our lives when we were young. But my parents always encouraged us to be entrepreneurs. I mean, I didn't know when I was like 18 years old that it wasn't a good thing for them to give us a credit card that they had that they ended up going bankrupt on, so we could fund some like business ideas that we had, just because they were so poor and they had no clue. But they always encouraged our entrepreneurial spirit. I've been a lot of things in my life up to this point. So is Brandon. Brandon did real estate. He did web blogging, SEO stuff. He worked at a warehouse. I worked for a city. I worked for a police station. I ran a video game company. That one helped a lot with this. did Bitcoin, did a lot of different things. So we've always been like into business, but I would credit God and a good relationship at church, a lot of helpful people, and then our parents always, being supportive of us. We were homeschooled our whole lives, so we always kind of had to figure stuff out for ourselves, I guess. Are you in an appliance buy group like Nationwide or Brand Source, Ben? No, I'm not with any sort of appliance buy group. I know exactly what you're talking about. If you are a mom and pop shop, essentially, there's no easy way to suddenly get an appliance store. You have to go join a co-op or some other sort of system where you can join in with a lot of other people and buy a large number of appliances to get any sort of reasonable deal from the factory. Factories don't want to send you 5 Whirlpool top load washing machines. They don't give a crap about you at all. They care about Lowe's. They care about Home Depot going out and buying 100,000 units. The dirty secret about appliances is that the reason they're made cheaply is that they're sold cheaply, and there's no markup on them. Like if there's a $500 washing machine at a mom and pop store like an Amana, that appliance store, the mom and pop probably got the machine for $450, and they make $50 if they're lucky on the machines because they're not Lowe's. Lowe's goes in there and says, "Hey, I need 100,000 machines. What deal are you giving me?" And then Whirlpool gives them just a ridiculously better price on it. And I imagine that it also is why Lowe's has a warranty and Home Depot have warranties instead of saying, "Oh yeah, you have a year factory warranty." And also why they push extended warranties is they're, I imagine, taking on more responsibility with the warranties than even mom and pops do. So they probably get a better rate on top of all that. And then I'm just theorizing here. So they can push those warranties more and make more money on those warranties because honor them, or they may not honor them. Allegedly, they probably don't honor them as well as they should. But no, I'm not in a co-op. At some point, when I want to do new stuff, I have good contacts with scratch and dent companies that I can go buy Lowe's and Home Depot's old junk. Well, junk. They're scratch and dent stuff that customers return because Karen's $4,000 KitchenAid had a scuff mark on it, and I'm not beyond buying that at wholesale and buffing the scuff mark out and then reselling it. And those are easier to get a hold of. You have to have the money to buy a truckload, but you can get them. Going over a few more. Do you have a full video about your story? It sounds like a good come up story. At some point, I'm sure we'll talk about that and turn it into a video at some point. Need to hack modern appliances. There's a guy that made a comment about how nice, or he claimed to remanufacture a board, and he said, "Oh, I was able to figure everything out myself." And he says he redid an entire board down to the code level himself, and it could have worked on other brands. And I begged him to try to tell me what happened there. It'd be really interesting if you could hack a modern appliance and figure some stuff out. I feel like you could, but then there are so many different connectors on any different unit that it would be hard to come up with something truly universal. But then, like, Choice Parts has a universal wash pump that works on like every single brand ever. Just has different wire hookups. And if you had a board large enough and on the outside of the unit or a big place it could fit, you could just hook every wire you needed to in it and make it idiot proof, and then just have like a universal controller and run it that way, theoretically. But one day, guys. On a washing machine, what changes when you select normal, heavy, and casual? It depends on the appliance, or it depends on if it's electrical or mechanical. You're going to change a few different things, like some motors were variable speed. You're going to change the speed of the motor. You're going to change the amount of time that it washes for. And then you're also going to change the water level. On a new one, it's definitely going to change the water level to figure out how much to put in it. So it's going to change the algorithm. That's going to be something that generally changes on it. Taylor has a free appliance pickup service that gets him plenty of sellable units. If you're just doing used, that's really a good way to do it. That's the way I have done it for a long time. I get haul away guys that bring me a lot of good stuff though, so that keeps me supplies too.
Kevin from sales, how's my eBay store? Half and half. I'm doing really well on new parts, but used ones are very difficult for appliances because people they don't watch my videos to diagnose things properly, so they go out and buy a board and it ends up not fixing the problem, and they get mad thinking that the board doesn't work when it's something else. So that makes eBay very challenging for used parts. But there's a few new things that I sell on there that is just doing really, really well. Stay away from LG, Samsung, because when they break down, it takes a long time to get parts in, especially if it's a compressor. There's a lot of horror stories on my comment feed where people have to wait 4 weeks to get their compressor fixed, and they're out of the fridge. So it can be very difficult to get what you need in reasonably fast. So that is something to avoid when something breaks down. Share thoughts on a G&E 27 JMG French door 27 cubic foot by GE. I think that's very similar to the one that I had in my store that I did a diagnostic video on. Really, really liked it. I really, really liked it. It was $3,000, I think, with indoor water and ice. It's good. Techs really do like the GE refrigerators because it's not to say they don't have problems, but when it's a problem, it tends to be a fan. That may be a $100 fan, but it's fixable. And the control boards are generally kind of cheap. Most GEs have a universal control board you can get for like $80. And then you may have to do some reprogramming on it, but the guts are really, really cheap on GEs, and the compressed sealed system is solid, so they're pretty good, in my opinion. But, you know, every brand has its own horror stories. So I think that's everything I got for today, guys. I've gone 45 minutes over the live stream. I said 6 to 7, and we're at 7:45 Ohio time, Eastern Standard. So I'm going to let you guys go. I appreciate all the comments. I got way more comments than I ever thought possible. We will have to do this again. I hope you guys liked it. I'll make the video private at some point, just because YouTube hates live videos, but I hope you guys had fun. I appreciate every single one of you. If I didn't get to your message, I'll try to reply to it. I'll probably unlist the video, but then reply to what I can that I missed. What would you suggest? Could you suggest a Frigidaire French door refrigerator, which is very reliable? Model numbers are not my specialty. I'm horrible at model numbers because I would have to go on Google and I'd have to find the model numbers I'd like, and then I'd tell you what model numbers I like. And I don't deal with a whole lot of new stuff. But when it comes to Frigidaire, you have to avoid, on a French door, you have to avoid anything with water and ice in the door. I got 2 Frigidaires on my sales floor I got to make videos with. They are salvage units that people lost everything on because the ice maker screwed up everything. What ends up happening on Frigidaire, specifically Frigidaires, but it's happening on Samsungs and everything else more often, but really Frigidaires, is when you put the ice maker in it, it changes the refrigerant tubing on the back of it, and it's very, very thin. You have a very thin layer of insulation between your refrigerant pipe, which is cold, and the back of the refrigerator, and because of the ice maker. And over time, that liner degrades, and it's only about a 16th of an inch. And when it degrades, that pipe will start cooling the back of the refrigerator, not on the outside, so ambient temperatures. And if you have, say a cold can of Dr. Pepper, there's if it's cold enough, water condensates on the outside of the metal. Well, same thing happens with your fridge with the refrigerant pipe. You start getting water on the outside of your refrigerator, starts rusting, and then it starts dripping on your floors and ruins your hardwood floors. And then it destroys more and more insulation to where you end up getting this giant ball of ice on the back of your fridge, and it destroys the liner, it rusts everything, and just destroys it. And it's a very specific Frigidaire problem. And I'm not saying that to scare people away from Frigidaires, because I have a Frigidaire myself, but it's a basic model. But my point is, you get a Frigidaire, don't get an ice maker. Go buy one and put on on the cabinet beside your house, beside your Frigidaire. Just don't get indoor ice on a French door. You have tons of problems. The repair kit, I'll do the video on the repair kit at some point. The repair kit wholesale is like $75. And it's going to be a complicated fix. There's one guy that has done a video on that repair ever. And the video it's not it's I want to improve on it. In fact, he has a video's good, but it's a very tricky fix because Frigidaire made those ice boxes so bad, and it's very similar to the Samsung situation. Very similar, that they stink. But I'm going to leave you guys soon. I know my wife wants me to get back to my attractive, beautiful wife wants me to get home at some point. She's asking if I did the live stream. But I appreciate each and every one of you. The fact I had 60, 70 people, I think, concurrent is just amazing. It blows me away. I appreciate every one of you guys. The rest of my day will be amazing. Kevin from sales has a warehouse, 7 employees doing $1K a day on eBay, $1,200 a day in whole unit sales, $450 on service calls. Yeah, that's great. I love hearing it. I appreciate the fact that I had something to do with that. That's awesome. I know we do something kind of similar. We don't do that much on eBay. Kevin, you got to tell me, what are you selling for that you're getting $1,000 a day on? What are you selling to get that much? I'm not jealous, but I'm proud. I'm very proud of you doing that. Whole unit sales, that's awesome. Service calls, that's awesome. If anybody's watching this, get in appliance repair if you ever get the chance. I'm self-taught. I watched other people's YouTube videos. I watched, I had this earlier in the video. I watched Bill Newberry. That's how I got into this. Was I watched his videos just incessantly, and other people on YouTube to get into this. It's not hard. The thing about doing fixes is it's not hard to get in. And once you get into it, you find out that it's similar stuff over machines. There's a lot of money to be made. There's not enough techs. I hope that the videos get more people into it because it's a good career. I had my own video game company and I worked with Microsoft and EA and Activision and Square Enix. I spoke at the same convention center Steve Jobs and all the other people did. Did a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed that, and I would have never thought I got into appliance repair, but I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that appliance repair made me more money than video games ever did. And the barrier to entry is a whole lot easier because I can live in Ohio and do appliance stuff and not have to move across country for a job in, Portland or whatever. And that's why I really like appliance repair. But I appreciate you guys, everything you did. My wife called you and said she... Okay, I gotta go home then. I love that comment, glitter fart, because that is literally something she would say to me. That is literally something she would say to me. I gotta tell her that if she didn't really call you. But see you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. You guys have a great, blessed day. I'll have more videos out, but I appreciate it, and I will see you guys around. We'll do it again. We will absolutely do